All right. Welcome back to what is the final step in our intro to CAD journey this semester for the Creo CAD journey, that is. Our final exam. All right, in front of us here, we have part of our project. There are multiple components to it. It's worth 300 points. We have three major things we need to knock out in the process of doing this. The first is to create a part file for the clock face. Here's one that I did earlier. Doesn't have to have the finishes. It doesn't have to have the text on there, but the rest of it is very much required. That is one component, 100 points out of 300 for that one. Second is going to be your assembly using components provided to you and downloaded from our materials on D2L. And then the final piece of the puzzle, another 100 points, is this technical drawing that includes the assembly, the parts, and then some balloons and a parts list, bill of materials, all that good stuff. Those are the things that we need to do. All right, so to get started, let's go ahead and check out and head on over to D2L and go to our assignments and scroll down until we find our final exam. Let's take a note for those of you that are at ECC in this fall semester 25. That is your due date for your final exam, October 11th, also known as this upcoming Saturday night at 11:59 p.m. Your final is due along with all other components and assignments for the rest of the semester. So after October 11th, again, remember, per syllabus policy, there will be no late work accepted. Nothing turned in after the 11th will count. So please get your work turned in. I'll also be emailing everybody just to give you a reminder on that as soon as I wrap up this video for the second time, but we won't get into the reasons why this is the second time. What can go wrong will go wrong sometimes, as it's been said many, many times. So here we go, final parts. I'm going to open up the final parts folder. It's going to give us a zip folder of things that we're going to need. We're going to need to extract all of those parts to somewhere. I'm going to put this into a new folder. I'm going to call it CAD, or I'm going to call it Uyghur video final. And create that folder, select that folder. I'm going to extract all those files there, and then I'm going to end up with all of them into that file folder. So this is everything that you need minus the part file for the clock face that you have to create. So let's start out with the instruction manual, which is posted right and contained in there as a PDF. So again, three parts. You got to model the clock body, create an assembly, and made all components as shown in the provided clock assembly drawing for 100 points, and then recreate the assembly drawing on page 3, and then turn that in. So what I need from you, I need a PDF of that assembly drawing. I need the Creo drawing file for that drawing of the assembly. I need the assembly, the complete assembly file. And then I also need the part file that you created for your clock face. So those four things are what I need from you. Make sure you get all of those in. The part file for the clock face, the assembly file, the drawing file in Creo, and then a PDF of that. Please do me a favor and put your last name as part of each one of those files so that it makes it much more straightforward for me when I weed through these things and I'm grading them over the next couple of days or right past the end of the semester, because my turn-in date for your grades comes up very quick on the following Monday to get those grades turned in for you. So that I can get those in time for you, make sure you help me out. All right, so here's what we got to do. Let's take a look. First things first, we got to model this clock face. And we see As we look here, we see quite a bit of ordinate dimensions on things on this rear side of the clock face. We also see some on this top view, this detail view as well, to show us the dimensions of things. Essentially, what we need to do is we need to design this clock face. We're going to have 12 dots on there to represent hours on the clock face. We're going to do some patterning. I do have to put a brand on there, as is in the example here, or as in the one I showed you earlier that said Howard Miller on there. No, I know by this point you should be able to add text to a thing and extrude it or emboss it. But if you want to add to it, I think it just makes it look a little bit nicer, just like adding some finishes to those parts as well as finishes to the clock face makes it look better. It just makes it look a lot nicer if it looks like this rather than all gray. Is it a required part of things? No. But go ahead and do it if you're so inclined to do so. All right, so let's take a look at it, see what we got to do. So we got to have a clock face. We have some diameter, so we know overall we have an 8-inch round clock face. Clock face is 3/4 of an inch deep, and it has 1/4 of an inch round on the outside edge of it. We have a series of step-ins on this until we get to a depth of a 1/2 inch from this outside edge. So 1/2 inch from there to there. And a step in 1, step in 2. And then on the reverse side, we got to add a couple of bosses so that we can attach the clock mechanism to the back side of the clock. And then we need a pass-through hole that goes 1/2 inch in diameter all the way through everything. So there it is. Let's do it. Here we go. File. We're going to do a new part. We're going to call this one Uyghur clock face video, because remember, Creo doesn't like anything to ever be named the same thing again. We're going to start an extrusion. We're going to turn on our planes. We're going to pick the front plane and go to a nice front on view. All right, here we go. Circle. We need that to be 8 inches in diameter. And we need a second hole in the middle, which was 1/2 inch in diameter. Remember, we're just trying to get close, and then we're going in and we are resizing those things. We're going to hit OK. We're going to come and extrude this to 3/4 of an inch deep. I'm going to hit OK. We're going to turn those planes off so we don't have things being so noisy. Let's add that 1/4 inch round to the front edge here. 0.25 on the radius. There we go. All right, first step in. Let's look at that real quick. That one is going to be 7 inches in diameter, and that first one is going to come down 1/8 of an inch. So we're going to go 1/8 of an inch deep, 7 inches in diameter on that front face. So 7 inches in diameter, circle, 7, enter, hit OK. We're going to go 0.125 because we're 1/8 of an inch. We're going to flip that direction. We're going to remove material, and we're going to hit OK. And we got step number 1 done. Step number 2 is going to be 6.5 inches in diameter. And that one is going to be our deep one there that goes down in total 1/2 of an inch. All right, so 1/2 an inch from the top face. But remember, we're sketching right here. So we're only going from 1/8 of an inch down to 1/2 an inch. So we're really going 3/8 of an inch down rather than that full 1/2 an inch. So don't make that mistake. 3/8 of an inch down on that next one. And the diameter was 6.5, correct? 6.5. It is 6.5. Okay. 6.5, 3/8 of an inch down. Let's do it. Extrude on this face, 6.5 inch circle. That's concentric with the others. A little big, but that's okay because we're just going to resize it. All right, and we're going to go 0.375, so 3/8 of an inch. We'll flip our direction. We're going to select remove material and hit OK. And we have our step downs, 1 and 2, done. Let's get things aligned back and go to the front view. Okay, we're going to work on what we need to do to get these dots, these circles in place for the hours on the clock. We need those to be 3/8 of an inch in diameter. Centers are going to fall on a circle which is 5 inches in diameter, and the thickness of each one of those dots, the depth of those, the height of that extrusion is going to be from that 1/2 an inch down there, and the top of that is 400 thousandths. So 500 thousandths to 400 thousandths, so 100 thousandths tall on there. 100 thousandths tall, 3/4 of an inch, 3/8 of an inch in diameter, and 5 inches on center there. So let's go ahead and let's do another extrusion on this face. We're going to set this up first with that 5-inch circle. Set it to 5. And we're going to come in, we're going to left click on it once and choose construction. Because otherwise, if that's left as a line, it's going to mess things up a little bit. I know it doesn't show so well for you, but when you mouse over, it's going to pop back up on there and you can see it. So we need a circle, which is going to lie on that. Is 3/8 of an inch in diameter, 0.375. We're going to make this one, and then we're going to pattern it, make a whole bunch of other ones. So let's hit OK. Get that extrusion done. Remember, we set it as 100 thousandths tall, so 0.1 tall, and hit OK. And now, before we go ahead and pattern this, we're probably going to use an axis. So we're going to need to set up an axis in here first. Let's go back a couple steps real quick. Go back to the beginning. Let's put in, no, we don't want to go back that far. We got to go right here. So we're going to put an axis in. Choose that. There we go. We got an axis in now. Let's drag back down in history. So we get to where we are. We see everything. And let's click on extrusion 4. So we select it. And we're going to pattern that extrusion. Okay, first thing it wants to know is what type of pattern we're going to do. We're going to do an axis one. And as soon as we choose that, the next question is going to be, what is your axis? So we're going to click on that in our model tree there. And then how many instances do we want? There's 12 hours, AM and PM. So let's go 12. Degrees between members is 360 divided by 12. 30, right? So we're not sure of the math there. We go to 360 divided by 12 there. Hit enter. We get 30 degrees in between each one. We're good, 30 degrees. We got the extrusion selected already. We're going to hit OK. And there we go. We got 12 dots on the clock face. Beautiful. Let's flip over to the back side. All right, to the back face. All right, so back face on here, we need a step down on this back face. When we look here, and if we look at this top view, this is the front side because we see the radius on there, the round off on there, the round over. So we look here, we have on the sectional view, we can see that we have a step down that is from 0.625 to 0.750. So that is another 1/8 of an inch step down. So same thing as we have there. The diameter of it, though, is going to be 7.5. So we get 7.5, 1/8 of an inch in. Let's go ahead and add that. So we're going to do an extrusion on this back face. We're going to do the circle. And we got, look at this, we got the equal constraint on there. So it's snapped to one of those ones on the front side. We don't want that. Let's get rid of that. There we go. Got rid of those equal constraints. So we need 7.5 here. Hit OK. And then we're going to go 1/8 of an inch, right? 1/8 of an inch in. We're going to remove material and we're going to hit OK. All right, let's get ourselves squared back up again by going to that straight on back view. And then we have to set up those 4 bosses. So the 4 bosses on the back, we're going to need to add those. Those are going to be very important because we need somewhere to attach that clock mechanism to the back side of the clock. So here they are. Those bosses are going to be 1/4 of an inch in diameter. There are 4 of them. They are centered around the central hole in the clock face. We have ordinate dimensions here showing the middle as a 0. So we're 1 inch this way, 1 inch that way. So we're 2 inches across both ways. So we have a 2-inch square that's going to be where the center of all 4 of those 1/4 inch holes are. So let's go ahead and do this, or 1/4 inch bosses are rather. Let's go ahead and flip back over here. Let's set up an extrusion on the back. We're going to do a rectangle, but we're going to choose a center rectangle. Just going to make our life easier. I'm not going to let it snap anywhere. I'm just going to center click to lock it in. And then I'm going to go ahead and put some strong dimensions in so that I am in place. And then I'm going to go around one by one because usually it doesn't work this way, that I can select all of them and click on there and then left click once and then do the construction lines. Why, I don't know. There has to be a better way to do it. There has to be a faster way to do it. If you know what that faster way is, please let me know in the comments or when we see each other sometime and go, hey, buddy, this is the way that you do it. And I'll be a very happy person. All right, so we got construction lines so that we don't mess up with our extrusions. And now we're just going to go in and we're going to put in those 1/4 inch circles where those corners of squares are. So let's get that set to 0.25, 1/4 of an inch. And then we're going to come around and do the same thing on the other corners. And as we do this, we're just going to let it snap until it goes equal. So we see the equal sign there, right next to the right of my cursor. I'm going to left click there. I'm going to come down. I'm going to do the same thing down here to equals, lock it in. Could you do this with a pattern? Sure, you could do it with a pattern. Is it faster to do with a pattern? Maybe, maybe not. I think they're going to take about as long either way you do it. I'm just doing it this way. Again, there's no wrong way to get to it. You know, there is a lot of different ways to get things done in here. Just as long as you get the same result at the end, it doesn't matter which path you choose. Some are faster than others. The important thing is to just get it done. All right, so 3/8 of an inch long on the bosses. Hit OK. Those are there. At this point, our clock face is done. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to save that and make sure that we have it saved into our folder where everything is. And remember, because we are doing an assembly, that all of our files that are part of the assembly, all the parts and the assembly file have to reside within the same folder. If we move things around, we got to move everything around that's associated with it because Creo and most CAD softwares aren't going to update extensions or paths or file names pointing. So where are we pointing to the file at? Where did the file move to? It's not going to update that stuff for us in most cases. There's some additional things that you can add to certain software programs that will help you automate that process when you do it. But as it stands, we got to keep everything for an assembly within the same directory, or at least not move them from one directory to another. All right, so we have your clock face video.prt is all done. So on to our assembly. So file, new, assembly. I'm going to call it Uyghur clock video and hit OK. First part we're going to drop in. Remember, we're doing bottom up on this one, not top down, because we have existing parts. We have a collection of them. We're going to pull them in. So we're going to go ahead. This would be an interesting project to do as a top down, but we're going to keep this simple, and go bottom up on this one. So assemble, we're going to go into that folder where we have everything, which is right here. Look what's missing. I didn't save my clock face to the right spot. So let's go ahead and let's go find it. No, it's not here. I have a feeling it's in this other. Nope. No, that's a midterm video. It's not, it ain't going to be in that one. I know that. Mm. Oh, where did I save it to? Let's see. Face.prt. So intro to Creo in the final folder. Okay, so let's go here. Let's go final. Let's go weaker clock face video. Let's move that into the main folder. All right, so into that one. Let's go ahead and move this one. This is what happens when you're kind of in a rush sometimes, and it's good process to see, just to going through and figuring things out and getting it fixed and making sure that we have all those files in that same folder, because it's good practice. It just is good practice. All right, so video final, we're going to move it into there. So we have clockface.prt. Awesome. All right, let's go back here and let's go into the folder again. So we should see it. Open that guy up. And remember, before we get too happy and get too ahead of ourselves, when we drop in this first part, right, instead of automatic, we want to go to default. The thing that's going to help us out with is a couple things down the road, but mostly when it comes to doing our 2D drawing and having to screw around with the sectional view. You'll be happy that you did it this way now. All right, so there's that. Let's bring in the next piece, which is going to be the chrono housing, also known as the mechanism for the clock. And we've been here, we've done this before, so we're going to get the part close, kind of oriented more or less the way it's going to go. We're going to set up some constraints, set up a concentric one with those two, or coincident one. Either way you want to go, they're both going to do the same thing. And let's get this view on so that it's right. Let's go to the straight back view, because we want to make sure that this is oriented properly so that the mechanism is oriented. So this is up on here so we can read the text, so that 12 o'clock is going to be up at the top of the clock here. Okay, so those things are correct. If this is 90 degrees sideways, will it still work? Yes. Is your assembly model correct? No. So it's going to be a reduction in points for that one. Probably about 20 if that's incorrect. All right, so we got the one to lock it in. Let's do a couple more, because remember, if I come in and I grab a hold of this, because I grab a hold of this part in assembly, attempt to move it, if I don't have it constrained in a couple places, it's going to rotate, right? So let's make sure we're constrained as much as we can. So that post there. And let's get this one right here. Okay. And I'll probably change that. I could leave it as oriented. I could go to coincident then too. And oops, I just clicked out of my setup there and I'm not done. So if I come back here and I go ahead and I can left click on there and go to the golden ball that saves us all the time right there. So I have two on there. I'm going to give it one more. if I can just stop clicking left on there too many times. So we're going to go to this one, there to there, and then we're going to add one more and make this face and that face coincident. Set up as distance by default. We're going to go coincident so that they're right up to each other and locked in. Hit OK. All right, next thing we need a bracket to hold this thing on to the wall. So this is going to be a wall mounted kind of a basic clock. So we'll go ahead and do that. Let's bring that part in. That is going to be the bracket part, bracket 2. Open that up and same thing. Let's get it close. Let's get it oriented the way in which it should. We are going to want this thing like this, but we're going to want to rotate it now because we want those saw teeth to be towards the back. Just think about how that's going to, if you ever hung a picture before, I'd imagine most of you have, or at least looked at it. You have these hangers on the back, and that's going to be where you're going to hang onto the nail on the wall like that. So get that orientation right on there too. So we'll get it more or less into place, get it in the neighborhood, and then we'll go ahead and we'll set up those constraints there. Now we don't want to rotate it anymore. That's good. Close enough. Okay. All right, here we go. So there we go with that one and that one. And let's add a new constraint. And let's go with this one and that one and see how it's switched and they're locked into each other now. And now we only have one more degree of freedom. Let's go ahead and remove that. Let's add one more constraint. This face, top face of this guy. We are locked in. We are there. All right, let's make sure that the clock doesn't fall off the wall now. Let's go ahead and add a couple of bolts. Add the bolts through those holes in the top there. These are going to be important too. Some of these other things you can get away with not kind of getting things in the neighborhood. But if you don't have this oriented right, and you do that first coincident constraint, you can end up with the bolt coincident from the other direction. So the bolt's flipped around 180 degrees, which isn't terribly helpful. So let's get that. And let's get this right here. And then let's go ahead and add one more. Let's get this bottom face. And top face there. Okay, nailed it there. One more screw in there. Machine screw in there. Let's go ahead and grab another bolt. And the same thing as before. Let's go ahead and get this relatively close in orientation. We don't have to go crazy, but as long as we get it in the neighborhood and it's more or less facing the right direction, we're probably going to be fine. All right, so that there, the outside of this, good there, and let's add a new constraint. And we're going to go coincident top face here on the hook, on the bracket. And there we go. Okay, we're on there. We got a couple screws in there. Good. Our clock is not going to fall off the wall. Get back to that standard orientation in case I flipped it around at all. All right. So a couple things. We got to do the minute hand, the hour hand. And I think the hour hand there's two different holes on here. So there's two different shafts on this clock mechanism. One of these is these two are going to rotate independently of each other. One is going to rotate one hand. The other one's going to rotate the other one. So we know that the hour hand spins a lot slower than the minute hand, right? As the clock is rotating. So I believe the hour hand is the larger one in this case. I hit open on that one and see if I remember correctly. And it looks like I did. So let's go ahead and get that close. Let's get this in the neighborhood here. And let's go ahead and find our places. So that outside face of the white portion, the white shaft there, with the inside face of this guy. We're coincident there. And now we want an additional constraint so that we can get this face and this one together. And if we want to be exacting about this, we probably should, let's go ahead and let's do a distance. Let's go an offset of a couple thousandths on there. There's 2 thousandths on there. Because we don't want that. We can't have this rubbing on that black part there that doesn't move, right? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So let's if we're going through all the trouble to do it, let's get it so it makes sense. All right, so that one's in there. That's good. Let's go ahead and add that minute hand now. Same thing for that one. The minute hand is going to go on the gray shaft there. Same idea. Let's get it close. Let's get it oriented more or less the same way. Grab that outside there. Grab the inside there. Then we'll come in. We'll get this. And sometimes if you can't see, just drag the thing a little farther away. So when you rotate, you can get and see what you need to do. So we're going to add a new constraint. We're going to go this face here. So we've got our coincident already. And then we're going to go this face right here. Okay, again, we want a little bit of space. Let's go with distance. Let's do an offset of 2 thousandths again, or 20 thousandths rather. That's 20 thousandths, which is probably more than we need, but that's okay. Just account for that space there, account for that friction. Remember, that's one of the things that CAD software doesn't do very good in a lot of cases when we're simulating things and putting things together in assemblies. It doesn't account for friction. All right, last one. Let's go ahead and grab that lens. We need the lens to cover it up. But before we go ahead and just grab it, I happen to know that this was made with an older version. And when we bring that lens in, it's going to look white. It's going to be solid and finish. And we really don't want that. So before we go ahead and do this, let's go File and let's open up that lens part real quick. Nah, you know what? Don't worry about it. Let's leave it. Because then everybody's going to be changing the name of it, and then it's going to get weird. Let's just leave it alone. It's going to appear solid. So let's bring it in right now so you can see what I'm talking about. So lens, bring it in. Let's go ahead and get it more or less where it should be. Okay, that out. And that over there. And let's go with a coincident constraint. So let's go coincident this. And there's a flat face on the bottom side of that. So there we go. We got that. And then whenever your view gets jacked up like this, you can just always go ahead and click the refit. It's going to bring it back to where you are. It's kind of like the home button and some others that some other softwares have. All right, so we got that. So we're touching, but we need to get these aligned concentric wise. So let's do new constraint. We'll do coincident. Okay, we could do a centered too, would work. So click on the outside edge and the outside edge of the clock, and now they are lined up right around each other. We're gonna hit OK. See what I'm talking about? The face of that clock is white. Let's go ahead and try and fix that real quick. So let's go to Tools. It is View, rather. I'm gonna go to Appearances. appearances, and we're going to find one that is a clear. Glass works great. Let's go to that one. Let's click on the whole thing. Let's hit OK. And there we go. And now the part is glass. So we can see through it again. So we can see the clock hands, our clock face, and all is well with the world. All right, so let's set that orientation back up. So we're into standard orientation. Last thing we need to do now, we got our assembly is set. We need to blow it up. We made it, now we gotta blow it up. All right, so let's exploded view. Let's try it out. Let's see what Creo does. Click on exploded view. It's gonna try really hard and it's gonna give you something that's kind of okay. But we want a little more separation. We want it to look a little bit more like the one in our example, which is this one here. Okay, see how the parts are separated from each other. We're going to make it a little bit better even than the example one because we're going to add something else to it that I'd like to see on yours as well. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so I'm going to edit positions. I'm going to click on an object, separate those things out. If we're going to grab onto two at a time, we'll click on the first one, hold down Control and click on the second one so we can move those together because the spacing on that hand, on the hour and the minute hand is fine. And we're going to pull the clock face up a little bit more like that. I'm going to click on all of these, so Control and grab all four of these parts so I keep them together in a group. Bring this back a little bit. And then I'm going to click on one of those, Control and grab the other bolt. And then I'm going to raise those two up. Okay. So now we got things separated nicely. Let's go ahead and let's add this line. So when we show how things are put together, we'll often put a dashed line in to show how things are centered and how they go together. So it's going to show that this is inserted into here, this goes onto there, and this goes onto this face that they're all brought together. So we do that in Creo with this little guy right here. Cosmetic offset lines illustrate the movement of an exploded component. It looks like a magic wand, so we're going to click on the magic wand. And when we're using the magic wand to show those blue lines, we're going to use flat faces. So there's one. We want the center of it to be there. And then we want the other end of it to be on this. We have to find that flat face on the back side there, which is going to be that. And we're going to hit apply. And then as we go back to our default view, we're going to see that blue line. Shows how everything goes together. We're going to do that one more time. We're going to put those blue lines in for each of those screws to show that they go to here. And remember what I said, that we need to be looking at the flat face, one flat face to another. So we're going to select that bottom flat face. And we're going to select the flat face on that bolt. We're going to hit apply. Got that one. And then we have one more we're going to do that for. Flat face at the bottom there. Rotate up. And flat face there. And we're going to hit apply. And there we go. I think that kicks up what we have a little bit above. Make sure you hit the close when you're done with that. Okay, and then we're going to hit the OK on the explode tool to close that out. Now, before you go any farther, the next thing that I need you to do is to make sure that you save this orientation. If you do not, and you go and proceed on, and suddenly your exploded view looks like the default way that Creo made it for you, which wasn't great, means you didn't save it. So let's go ahead and fix that. Okay, so we're going to fix that by going to this view manager, clicking on there. We're going to go to explode. And then we're going to go ahead and under edit, we're going to save. We can in Creo save multiple versions of exploded views. Think about an assembly manual for something like flat pack furniture, like you go buy a bookshelf from IKEA. and you get those couple flat boxes, you get a bunch of hardware, and you get those directions that really just show you pictures, and they show you these assembly lines on there. You're gonna have multiple views, multiple angles showing the same assembly sometimes, and Creo lets you save a whole bunch of them. We're just gonna update and replace that default one, and there we go. So that is saved. Let's make sure we save it so we don't lose it. And we're getting this error showing that the model isn't generated. So let's hit OK. Let's go back to the model file itself, which is right there. Let's regenerate the model file. And now let's go back to our assembly and save it. It's not regenerated. Why is that not still regenerated? Because we just fixed it, right? So back to this again. Let's save it again. Okay, so that's good. So we should be able to go in here now. Oh, is it this one's not regenerated? Okay, that's what it is. It wants us to regenerate this one. There we go. I regenerated it now. Now we can save it. There we go. So we got that saved. We got the assembly done. We have the part for the face done. Now we just got to knock out the drawing. Let's go ahead and knock out that drawing as quick as we can. So we're going to go File, New, Drawing. We'll call that Uyghur Video Drawing. Please again include your last name in that. We're going to do empty with format. We're going to browse and we're going to find an A format because we want an 8.5 by 11 sheet. You don't need anything too big. We're going to hit open and hit OK. And we should have this sheet looking just like this that we're very familiar with from our other projects. All right, so we're going to dump in our first view, our primary view. What do we need on this thing? This is what we need. We need to have a primary view of the front face of this. We need to have a bottom view, a left side view, a right side view, which is sectioned using the center of that plane through the middle of that. We need to show a detailed view of the upper portion of that sectional view, and then we need to show the exploded view here with balloons on each of the parts, a bill of materials parts list up at the top, and your name. Notice what you do not see on this here is you don't see anything crossing over anything else. So I don't have this detailed view on top of this or on top of this, or my arrows from my section doesn't go into my bill of materials, or this balloon up here does not get into my revision section at the top of the title block. Keep those errors out of there because each one of those will result in 20 points, a 20-point loss on your final score. All right, let's go ahead and knock that out. Scale-wise, I think on this one, a quarter scale looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and dump in the first thing by going to General View and no combined state. We're going to hit OK, and we're going to click where we want the center point of that drawing to be, which is right there. Let's reorient things here a little bit. Let's go to the front. Let's go to the scale. Just going to go ahead and listen to whatever it wants us to do. I'm going to go quarter scale on this and see what that looks like. And apply. That looks pretty good size-wise. And then in my view display for each of these things, I'm going to go with hidden lines, and I'm going to do phantom. I'm going to apply that. I'm going to hit OK. And then I'm going to come in and delete that because I really don't need it because I'm going to change my default scale down here in the drawing scale. I'm going to change that to quarter scale. So everything is going to be quarter scale unless I make it bigger. All right, so I need to have a left side, a right side, a bottom view there. So let's go ahead and project those. So click on the object. Let's go projection and go down there to add that one. back to our primary projection, go to the right, drop it in, back to the primary projection, go to the left, drop that one in. And then it's just a matter of setting up all those things in view display to be hidden and phantom for each subsequent view there. All right, that one. So this one. And finally, the last one. You can go ahead and control and select all of those. But I think it's good practice, at least at first, just to go through and get in the habit of just doing the same thing and changing that a couple of times, just until you know what you're doing and you feel pretty proficient with it. All right, so there are those four views. So we need to go ahead and take and turn this into a sectional view. So we need to slice that thing right down the middle, turn this into a sectional view. So remember, when we're doing that, we're going to choose the view which is going to become the sectional view. So we're going to double click on that, get back into the drawing view, go into the sections menu. We're going to do a 2D cross section. We're going to hit plus to add a new one on there. It's going to be planar. It's going to be single. We're going to click on done. And then we're going to give that section, parting line, a name, that sectional view. We're going to call it A, and hit the check mark. We're going to choose a plane. So let's flip these planes back on and choose the plane. I'm going to zoom in here. We're going to grab that. And then we're going to shift to the right and choose arrow display and pick the view that's going to have the parting line on it, which is going to be this primary view. I'm going to hit apply and hit OK. And we should have, if we've done everything right, we've got a sectional view here, which we do. We see the hatches. We have our parting line shown on our primary view, but we do have some bad form here. We have those parting line arrows crossing over that bottom view. So let's go ahead and fix that. Left click on there once, and then we should get the handle to be able to drag it up a little bit. Keep the length on those about the same. Drop that there. That one looks about the same at the top. We probably could draw it in a little bit more and bring it down. Now let's move this where it says section AA. Let's center that up a little bit over there. That looks a little bit nicer. All right, cool. We got a good part of things. All right, we need a detail view of this part. Let's zoom in a little bit. Let's go detail view. Let's pick a center somewhere right around there. Now let's go ahead and draw the circle, right? We need 3 or 4 points. We're just left clicking as we go around. And when we're pretty close to done, we right click. That completes the circle for us. And then we're going to come over into space here, and we're going to left click where we want that detail view to be. All right. Now I'm not really happy with where that is, so I'm going to unlock my view movement. Here. So now I can drag this guy around a little bit. And then I can also move and center that thing, what it says, what the detail view is, how big it is, all that good stuff is out of the way. There we go. All right, exploded view. Got everything done with that stuff. We need exploded view now. Let's go ahead and go back to general view. No combined state, click on OK. Click on the center where that view is going to be. We're going to go to view states. And we're going to choose explode components in view. We're going to up the scale a little bit. If I look at that, I could go a little bit bigger than quarter scale. So let's go custom on there and go 0.333, so 33% scale, third scale, and hit apply on that. That fits nice in there. Half scale is probably going to be a little bit more of a pain than we want. We're going to hit OK. Let's get that guy on there so we're not crossing over anything. This thing where it says scale down at the bottom, just kill it. We don't need it. Okay, so see how that detail view is kind of still crossing over there. Let's fix that. Let's get that out of the way a little bit. There you go. Now they're not touching each other because we got to have a little space yet because we got to add those balloons on here too. So let's don't forget about that. So maybe we'll move this up a little bit more just to give ourselves a little bit more space when it's time for that. Which I guess it is time for that now. So let's go ahead and add the balloons. We have 7 parts: the lens, each of the hands, the clock face, the clock mechanism, the bracket, the 2 bolts. And we're going to put that bill of materials up at the top here. So let's go ahead and add the table for the bill of materials. If you're running a pretty old version of Creo, like 6 or 7, you should be able to use that bill of materials file, which is attached as part of everything. Um, Most of us are using a much newer version. I'm in 11. Most of you are going to be in probably in 11 too, because that's what's in the labs and that's what the recommendation was. So let's not worry about it. Let's just do it manually. So we're going to go to table. We're going to go to the table right here, and we're going to choose a table which is 3 columns in width and 8 rows. So 3 wide, 8 down. Left click on there. We're going to mouse over our drawing, left click to locate it, drop it in. All right, there's where our bill of materials is going to go. Let's get these balloons in quick. So we have those. All right, so for balloons, we need to go to annotate. And balloons are going to be under this annotation drop down. So there's more down here. So I could go to the drop down and click on balloon note. Or if I don't remember where the heck that is, I can always go to that search and I can just type in balloon note and click on it, and it's going to bring me right to the tool. That's one of the things I really love about the Creo help menu is the fact that if you search for something, find the tool, click on it, it's going to bring you and activate that tool directly rather than just say, oh, here's where it is. Then you have to go and find it and do that. A little quicker. It's kind of a nice thing. All right, so options on here. We want to have a leader, so we want to have some extension with that arrow on there. We're going to have a standard normal leader. Let's go with standard. And we're going to go ahead and click on make note. And as soon as we click on make note, we're going to left click on the one thing that we want to add a balloon for at a time. And then we're going to move our mouse away. We're going to center click to place where that's going to go. And then we're going to put into the note what that number is going to be. So it's going to be number 1. We're going to hit the check mark once to set that one. You could add another bubble next to that leader. We don't want to do that, so we're just going to hit the check mark again, and now we have a number 1. And then we're going to repeat the process for the other 6 parts we have left. We could throw another tail on this leader to show that, but if we look at it, the bolts are the same size. Why we got to do that? Okay, we're going to put a quantity up here of 2 on here showing the same bolt. So it's going to be assumed, and it's a little less messy if we don't put that on there. All right, so make another note. I click on the bracket, and we're going to come out and center. That's going to be part 2. We can just go enter, and knock that out that way. Make note again. Click on the mechanism for the clock. Center click there. Part 3, enter. And see, depending on where you choose on the thing, if you choose a face, you're going to get a dot. If you choose an edge, you're going to get an arrow. Okay, so let's try and make sure we choose an edge on this next part, the clock face, and see if that is true. All right, so let's go here. Let's put that down here. We got lots of white space down there. Let's use it. So let's click on an edge this time. Bring it out. That's going to be part number 4, the clock face. Enter. Ah, look at that. See, we got an edge, so we got an arrow. All right, so let's do these guys. Let's bring those arrows out this way. We'll bring out one out that way. So let's do the outer hand. So make a note, click on that, out to here, place it. That is part number 5. Enter. And then we're going to do another one on this one. We'll bring that out that way. it's going to be number 6, enter. And then our last one finally is going to be the lens. So one more note, try and get on an edge, bring it out. Number 7, enter. We have balloons on everything. All right, now all we got to do is 2 things. We got to finish the bill of materials. And before we forget, let's not forget, let's do this. Let's add our name on here because we want to put our name right here. Your name has to be on there. Remember always as we're adding our name here that we're going to add all text on here is going to be in all caps. Always in caps. It's more readable. It is 2 standards, ISO standards, all the 12,000 different governing bodies there are for how CAD drawings look. One thing they will generally agree upon is that we're using capital letters. So let's make sure our name follows that as well. We're going to go to annotate. We're going to do a note, simple note. We're going to drop that text box right in the center there. Type in our name in all caps. Left click off, adds it on there. All right, so we got our name on there. Let's go in here and let's get this stuff done. So first box is going to be the top row of each column is going to be what the call out is. So we're going to go item on this one. And this one is going to be name. So what is the name of the part? And then the third column is going to be the quantity. We're just going to abbreviate QTY. And let's go through and knock these out. So part number 1 is a bolt. And it's just a series of a bunch of left clicks to get yourself into this, each one of these individual cells on this. And then we're going to need 2 bolts. Part number 2 is the bracket. We need 1 bracket. 1 bracket. Jumping back over here, number 3. Number 3 is we'll call it the chrono. One of those. Number 4 is going to be the lock face. And one of those. Come on, get there, cursor. There we go. Five is the hour hand. Those 6 is a minute hand. We're just going to abbreviate minute a little bit so it fits in there nicer. MINHAND. 1 quantity on that one. And part number 7, not to be forgotten about, is our lens. That is quantity of 1. All right, so let's double check real quick and make sure we've got everything on there. Requirements are the bill of materials. We just finished that up. Our first and last name down there. The 4 views, primary, left, right, bottom. Right view is sectioned. The parting lines shown on the primary view, a detailed view of that section view showing the upper corner of that, and then the exploded view with balloons and part numbers on each thing. That is it. That is everything for the drawing. All right, drawing is done. Make sure that you save it again. Okay. And then let's go ahead and print it. Make a PDF. Let's look at the preview of the PDF. Here's one thing I want to show you. So look at this. So does that look right? Did that preview look right? See what's cut off? Things are cut off. Let's get everything centered in there. Hey, let's not cut this stuff off because if you give me a PDF that has half of your drawing or a quarter of your drawing or a third of the edge cut off on there, that's the most important thing that we're producing here, right? Going to be really hard for somebody on your shop floor or in your prototyping lab to go ahead and start working on that prototype of this product if they don't have the complete drawing, right? So let's go ahead and print that out, make that PDF. Then hopefully after doing that, our PDF should look okay. I'm going to go ahead and check on that. Look here real quick and see if that looks all right. It's in my downloads. There we go. Okay, everything's there. Could be centered a little bit better. In the advanced class, we'll get a little bit further into the weeds on setting up output on this stuff and get a little bit better control of that, but not a necessity now. But as long as I can see everything on there, we're going to be good. All right, so remember what you need to turn in for me on D2L. Again, by this coming Saturday at 11:59 p.m. are four things. The first is the PRT file, the Creo part file of your clock face that you modeled. Second thing is going to be the assembly of that clock face and the additional parts that you're given in that download folder that looks like this. Okay. So it's exploded. It looks nice. We're all good. That one, that assembly file. Third is going to be your drawing file, your Creo drawing file of that assembly drawing that you did. And then the last thing is going to be a PDF of that drawing file. So those four things. Remember, include your last name in each one of those. That is a requirement on here. And that's really it. So this is the last we see of each other until hopefully the advanced class maybe in the future, or in some other course, maybe a SolidWorks class or something else, an Inventor class, an AutoCAD class, whatever it might be. Hope to see you again soon. And thanks to you for taking part in things and suffering through my first go through on this. All right, see you later.